It was a warm, quiet evening in the spacious, well-kept house on the outskirts of the city. The sun was just beginning to set, casting soft rays of light through the large windows. Inside, the house was calm, with only the sound of distant birds singing and the occasional rustling of leaves outside. Everything was in perfect order. The walls were painted in gentle shades of soft beige, with carefully chosen furniture placed throughout the rooms. The smell of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the air, adding to the sense of peacefulness that enveloped the home. Henry, a successful businessman in his early 40s, sat by the large glass window in his living room, glancing at the quiet garden outside. He had always loved the tranquility of his home. The peace that came with it was something he treasured deeply. But life, despite its quiet moments, was rarely simple. His wife, Grace, had passed away when their daughter, Lily, was just a baby. The loss had left Henry with a sense of emptiness, and though his wealth and success filled many of the material gaps, it never quite filled the hole in his heart. Lily, now 5 years old, had become the center of Henry's world. Her laughter was the music that played in his heart. Everything he did for her. He wanted to give her the best life possible, even if it meant working long hours, coming home late, and barely catching a moment for himself. But no matter how hard he tried, there was always something missing. He could never be in two places at once, and so he had hired a nanny to help care for Lily when he was away. Charlotte, the nanny, was a young woman in her 20s, full of energy and warmth. She was kind, reliable, and loved by Lily, who had formed a close bond with her. Henry had seen how much Charlotte cared for his daughter and appreciated her dedication. In many ways, she felt like family. It was just past midnight when Henry returned home after a particularly long day at the office. He had been working on a deal that could change everything for his business, and the pressure weighed heavily on his shoulders. He didn't expect to find anything out of the ordinary at home. But as he walked into the hallway, a scene caught his eye, one that would stay with him for a long time. There, just outside Lily's room, he found Charlotte. But this time, she wasn't sitting at the small desk in the corner, as she usually did, reading or preparing for the next day. Instead, she was lying on the floor in a position that made Henry stop in his tracks. Charlotte was asleep, curled up on the floor beside the crib where Lily slept soundly. The light from the hallway flickered softly across the room, highlighting the peacefulness of the moment. Henry stood there for a moment, confused. His first instinct was to walk in and check on Lily, but something made him pause. He stepped closer, gently nudging Charlotte's shoulder. Her eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, there was a look of confusion in her eyes. She blinked and then realized where she was. Her face flushed with embarrassment as she quickly sat up, trying to smooth out her clothes. "Oh, Mr. Lawrence," she said softly, her voice apologetic. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to fall asleep here. I didn't want to wake Lily." Henry, still standing by the door, was taken aback. He had never seen Charlotte like this before. She was always so professional, so composed. She had never given him a reason to question her commitment to her work. He looked down at her, and then at Lily, who was still sleeping soundly in her crib, oblivious to the situation unfolding just outside her room. "Charlotte," Henry said, his voice gentle but full of concern. "Why are you sleeping on the floor?" Charlotte hesitated, her eyes lowered. "I didn't want to disturb her," she said quietly. "Lily had a restless night yesterday, and I wanted to make sure she slept well tonight. I didn't want to risk waking her up by sitting in the chair." Henry felt a sudden wave of understanding wash over him. He had always known that Charlotte cared for Lily deeply, but seeing her lying there, selflessly making sure his daughter had a peaceful night's sleep, made something shift within him. It wasn't just about the job or the money. It was about the bond that had formed between them, a bond of care, trust, and love. He knelt down beside Charlotte, offering her a comforting smile. "Charlotte, you're doing more than enough. You don't have to sacrifice your own comfort for Lily's. You've been here for her, for me, day in and day out. I see how hard you work." Charlotte's face softened, and she looked up at Henry with gratitude in her eyes. "I just want to make sure Lily has everything she needs. She's like family to me." Henry smiled warmly, a weight lifting from his chest. In that moment, he realized that he had been so focused on providing material things for his daughter that he had overlooked the emotional support she truly needed. He had a loving nanny who cared for his daughter in ways that money could never replace. "You're not just a nanny, Charlotte," he said, his voice sincere. "You're part of our family. I can see that you care for Lily with all your heart." Charlotte looked down at her hands, her cheeks flushed with the compliment. "Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. That means a lot to me." As Henry stood up, he took a deep breath and looked at Lily one more time, her peaceful face framed by the soft light from the hallway. He had been so focused on his work, on providing the perfect life for her, that he had almost missed the beauty of what she already had, a loving home, a caring nanny, and a father who, despite his flaws, was trying his best to be there for her. Henry reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. With a gentle smile, he texted Charlotte, "Take the day off tomorrow. You've earned it." Charlotte looked up, surprised. "Are you sure?" "Yes," Henry replied. "You've more than earned a break. Go get some rest, Charlotte. You deserve it." The next morning, Charlotte took Henry up on his offer, taking the day to rest and recharge. Henry, too, took a moment to pause. As he sat in his office, he thought about the moments he often overlooked, the simple, quiet moments where love and kindness shone the brightest. He realized that, despite his wealth and success, it was the people around him who made his life truly rich. Later that evening, as Charlotte returned to her duties, Henry couldn't help but feel grateful. He had learned something valuable in that moment, the importance of kindness, of seeing the small sacrifices that people make for one another, and of not taking them for granted. In the end, it wasn't the luxury of the house or the size of his bank account that mattered most. It was the love and care that filled the spaces between the walls. And that, he realized, was priceless.